The greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it is too low and we reach it. That thought, articulated by the 16th century artist and inventor Michelangelo, was very much on the minds of a visionary group of Massachusetts industrialists who joined together 100 years ago to promote economic growth as a means of creating prosperity for the people of Massachusetts. They formed Associated Industries of Massachusetts with the goal of working cooperatively with both government and people of differing points of view to advance the common good. Through 100 years of boom and recession, 2 world wars, a moon landing, the internet, and the human genome, AIM has participated in the public debate with the goal of making Massachusetts into an economic city on a hill for the rest of the world. AIM today represents more than 4,500 employers from every sector of the Massachusetts economy who together embody the intelligence, ingenuity, and work ethic that has made Massachusetts unique. The particular genius of the AIM founders was looking beyond the immediate economic and political challenges of the day, including recovery from the downturn of 1914 and the impending entry of the United States into World War I. They concentrated instead on the long-term structural issues that would shape the Massachusetts economy during the 20th century. Even in 1915, the Industrial Revolution was forcing employers to confront issues such as finding well-trained employees, harnessing innovation, and competing internationally, issues that remain part of the 21st century economic landscape. I'm happy to tell you that Associated Industries of Massachusetts begins a year-long celebration of its 100th anniversary today by honoring the determination of our founders to solve the big issues that determine the ability of Bay State residents to create a life for themselves and their families. AIM embraces with our founders the dictum of Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "We should not forget that it will just be as important to our descendants to be prosperous in their time as it is for us to be prosperous in our time." AIM and its 4,500 member employers are observing the organization's centennial by developing the blueprint for the next century, a plan to ensure the long-term economic future of Massachusetts. We spoke with thousands of Massachusetts employers this fall, from corner grocers to multinational financial institutions, to identify the most compelling ideas to ensure that Massachusetts survives and prospers in an increasingly complex global economy. So what did we learn? Well, four common themes emerged. First, government and business must develop the best system in the world for educating and training workers with the skills to allow Massachusetts companies to succeed in a rapidly changing global economy. Massachusetts employers almost unanimously named the shortage of qualified workers as the central impediment to the future of the economy. The shortage crosses every industry, from manufacturers in the Pioneer Valley to software companies in Boston's Innovation District. Second, Massachusetts must create a competitive economic structure across all industries, all geographic regions, and all populations, rather than picking winners and losers. In our view, effective government builds business climates that encourage employers in all industries to invest, expand, and create jobs. These governments resist the temptation to favor the high-profile industry of the moment and instead ensure that long-term business costs, regulation, and education help everyone, from the multinational high-tech company to the small entrepreneur. Third, we must establish a world-class state regulatory system that meets the high standards for efficiency, predictability, transparency, and responsiveness. Massachusetts employers acknowledge the need for effective and well-managed regulation, but the employer community also believes that Massachusetts regulations and the regulators who enforce them sometimes stray from the primary objective of protecting society into a mindset of punishing businesses. And finally, Massachusetts must find a way to moderate the substantial burden that healthcare and energy costs place on business growth. Massachusetts has enjoyed unique success extending health insurance coverage to virtually all the residents of the Commonwealth since our reform in 2006. But that success is threatened by relentless acceleration of healthcare costs and the resulting run-up in the cost to employers of providing health insurance to workers. We have recently begun to slow the growth of our highest-in-the-nation healthcare costs, and that's good news, but much work remains. Meanwhile, average electric rates in Massachusetts are the third highest in the nation for industrial ratepayers. Electricity costs have reached crisis stage as a persistent shortage of natural gas for generating plants is driving power prices to record levels this winter. We presented a first draft of the blueprint for the next century to then Governor-elect, now Governor Charlie Baker, in November. The document is available to be downloaded from the AIM website, www.aimnet.org. I invite you to read the plan and share your thoughts. Tell us if we're right. Tell us if we're wrong. Tell us if we've left anything out. The blueprint process will continue throughout the centennial year, so there's plenty of time to add your voice to the discussion. Now, let me assure you that the future that AIM envisions for Massachusetts is fortunately built on an encouraging present. The Bay State economy has grown faster than the nation as a whole since the Great Recession, posting a 15% increase in output compared to 14.4% for the nation. Employment now stands at an all-time high of more than 3.4 million people. Massachusetts has not only regained the jobs lost in the last recession, but those lost in the 2000 downturn as well. Employers are more confident about the economy than at any time since the Great Recession. The AIM Business Confidence Index ended last year at its highest level since July 2007, having gained more than 7 points during the year. And remarkably, the state population also grew by 3% between 2010 and 2014. That growth rate during a time of economic recovery contrasts sharply with the two previous recovery periods when the Bay State was slow to rebound and experienced a really damaging outmigration of talented young people seeking better opportunities elsewhere. This time, Massachusetts suffered less than most states in the downturn and has retained many of its well-educated young people. Many of those talented young people are filling demanding jobs at fast-growing companies like the scores of startups being accelerated by Mass Challenge in Boston, or at companies such as CyberArk Software in Newton. Founded in Israel and born as a global enterprise, CyberArk grew by 45% during the first 3 quarters of 2014 as Fortune 500 companies beat a path to its door. Those customers sought cybersecurity protection in a world in which respected institutions were brazenly hacked and foreign governments used the internet to thrust themselves into American commerce. Let's take a look.
We started CyberArk in Israel with a whole new vision of protecting enterprises on the inside. So even if they're operating on the inside or coming in from the outside, they can't escalate their privileges and get access to the data they want to steal. We monitor everything that authorized users are doing and are able to alert in real time where there's anomalous behavior that may be an attack in progress. CyberArk has seen great growth. In the first 9 months of 2014, we grew 45% in our business, but also we've been growing staff-wise here in Massachusetts, but also around the world. We have employees in over 20 countries, and we have customers in over 65. Many Israeli companies just automatically go to the Silicon Valley. But we took a wide approach and said, where are our initial first customers going to be? And we thought it's going to be financial services in the East Coast. And then the decision was New York or Boston, and we were attracted to Boston very much because of the talent. The information technology talent that we will find here, the abundance of universities, and that we could pick talent from, and other large companies like EMC, Akamai, RSA that were in the adjacent space. We're seeing companies really wake up now based on all the recent attacks and understand that they have to reconsider how they're doing information security and start by protecting the inside.
We recognize that there are many...
Our vision is to really continue to grow a global information security company, not to lose focus on that customer satisfaction that got us here, and then continue to pound on the research and development to continue to innovate and come up with new solutions as attacks also evolve and get more sophisticated.
Congratulations to Udi and his team at CyberArk on their success. The ascendance of companies such as CyberArk underscores the enviable position that Massachusetts has established as a global center of software, biosciences, higher education, and research. It is a reputation that is also drawing major international players like GE Healthcare's Life Sciences Division, which announced plans last summer to invest $21 million to move its U.S. headquarters and 500 high-value jobs to Marlborough. More on that during our discussion this morning with Eric Roman, General Manager of Research and Applied Markets at GE Healthcare. But breakneck growth inside the Cambridge-Boston Innovation Beltway also threatens to blind policymakers to the persistent economic imbalance that has developed in Massachusetts between the economically thriving eds and meds economy of the 617 area code and the more traditional amorphous economy that dominates the Commonwealth from Route 128 to Berkshire County. As the Boston Globe noted in an article last month, the divide between the economic fortunes of eastern and western Massachusetts is only growing. But it didn't happen overnight, and it has vexed various governors who have tried to fix it. For example, the statewide jobless rate has fallen to 5.8%, but unemployment in older gateway cities such as New Bedford, Fitchburg, Worcester, and Springfield remains unacceptably high. The median home price in the town of Newton, for example, rose 17% between 2005 and 2013, but the cost of a home in Brockton fell 35% during the same period. The solution to the economic imbalance is to extend opportunity and development uniformly across all industries, geographic regions, and populations. The ingredients of such a uniform, strong economy are a stable and predictable business climate, efficient regulation, and an adaptable education system that provides the ever-changing array of skills that justify premium wages for Massachusetts residents in a competitive world economy. Predictable business costs are particularly important to capital-intensive sectors of the economy, like manufacturing. No sector creates more economic value. Manufacturing productivity surged 8.7% between 2007 and 2011, far faster than the overall growth rate of 1.7%. Each Massachusetts manufacturing worker adds an average of $179,000 to gross state product versus $115,000 for all private sector workers. As a result, the average weekly wage of manufacturing workers in Massachusetts remains 23% above the average wage for the entire economy. Manufacturers also generate most of the exports that Massachusetts sends overseas, while investing a greater percentage of revenue in research and development than other industries. But manufacturing companies also bear a disproportionate share of the Commonwealth's persistent cost problem in areas such as healthcare and energy. The structural cost burden they face compared to competitors around the nation and around the world raises the cost of every product and every job that companies create. It puts Massachusetts companies at a measurable disadvantage and discourages additional production, growth, and entrepreneurship. Yet, still many Massachusetts manufacturers are using ingenuity, efficiency, and creative relationships with employees to thrive in a world of daunting costs and labor skill mismatches. One such company is the Harpoon Brewery. Founded by two college buddies in the docks of South Boston when craft brewing was no more than a curiosity in 1986, Harpoon has transformed itself into a thriving business with more than 200 employees, sending beer to 17 states from a modern facility in what is now the white-hot Innovation District. CEO Dan Canary knew the central role that his employees played in building the business, so when it came time to sell part of the business, he didn't forget them. Here's their story.
My partner, Rich Doyle, and I had been lucky enough to travel in Europe right after college and came across all these incredible styles, the diversity, the history. And Rich was going to business school his second year and came to me. I was in banking at the time. Said, what do you think about opening up a brewery right here in Boston? So we raised money from friends and family and moved down here to, it certainly wasn't called the Seaport District back then, in early 1987, and started brewing Harpoon Ale. From starting with 3 or 4 of us back in the 80s, we've had a pretty steady growth. We've been very fortunate that way. And in 2013, we were the 12th largest craft brewery in the United States. We'll be between 205 and 210,000 barrels this year. And that's one of those obscure measurements. It's 31 gallons to a barrel, but in brewing, that's kind of what we use. In the middle of 2014, we became an employee-owned company, which is really exciting. We gathered everybody here in the beer hall. They didn't know what was happening. I invited some strangers in suits, our bankers and advisors, to kind of come along the walls and said, I'd like to introduce you to the new owners of a large minority stake in the company.
It was absolute silence for about a second and a half.
And I said, stand up and shake the hand of the person next to you. You're the new owners of the brewery.
And then the room just kind of erupted.
It was a great night here at Harpoon.
A lot of happiness, a lot of joy in that room. I was sitting next to a long-time employee who literally had tears.
We couldn't have achieved what we've achieved without the incredible employees that we have. So to have the opportunity to allow them to fully participate in the future value of the companies, awesome.
So now that we're an employee-owned company, it has really kind of enhanced that sense of commitment and has helped people to really step up.
Massachusetts is an interesting contradiction in some senses. It's a fantastic place to live. It's a great place to do business. We've been able to attract overqualified people for a very long time. And Boston has a vibrancy about it that's fantastic and has a lot of tourists come here. Given our location, people will hopefully come here, have Harpoon, and go home talking about this great beer they had in Boston and Massachusetts. On the other hand, it presents some challenges. It's a very expensive place to do business. It has some regulations that at times, both on the state and local level, can be really challenging. The good thing is, for the most part, we deal with some really good people and who help us navigate these obstacles that we face. We trust in the process, and with the help of AIM, for example, that we can make some great changes so we can have continued success here.
AIM is deeply grateful that Dan Canary serves as our treasurer and as a member of our board of directors and executive committee. So please join me in recognizing Dan, along with Harpoon President Charlie Story, who are here with us this morning. AIM stands for jobs, economic opportunity, fiscal predictability, business formation, innovation, education, and a government that acknowledges that the private sector has the unique ability and responsibility to create the commonwealth for the people of Massachusetts. And at a time when there is frequent discussion of income inequality and the need to create what Boston Mayor Marty Walsh last month called an inclusive recovery that makes us better and not merely bigger, it's important to remind ourselves that the Massachusetts economy boils down to the nexus of a person, a job, and an employer. The creation of a job and a person's ability to do it weaves together every important aspect of social and economic stability: the desire for a better life, the ability to support a family, the confidence to start a business, and the need to support efficient government management of services such as education, healthcare, and public safety. Economic growth strengthens these bonds. The employer buys new equipment, workers use pay increases to send their children to college, and communities find ways to fix broken water mains. A job with the future remains the only sustainable strategy for retaining the long-term economic prospects of thousands of our fellow residents who may not yet be sharing in the recovery. So I very much look forward to hearing what our panel of business leaders has to say about all of these important issues. And I would ask you not to be shy. We want to know what you think as well. So thank you very much. I'm now pleased to turn this program back to our moderator, Anthony Silva, and who will return to the stage with our panel.
Thank you, sir. I'm very glad to see Dan Canary and his team here. As you know, WBZ, we've been putting on business breakfasts over the years, and Dan and I have been working on the concept of beer breakfasts. So I just want to take a little poll here. How many would attend a beer breakfast? Okay, how many would go back to work? Keep your hands up. How many would go back to work after the beer breakfast? Yeah, see, I do the afternoon news, so if you ever hear me slurring my words in the afternoon, you know we've tried a test run, and but I'm looking forward to it. We're going to do that concept. I like that. Thank you very much, Rick, and thank you for your remarks that provide our panel with a lot of issues to comment on, and I invite the panel to come on down. I'm going to reserve this chair and choose your own here. Among our panel, Pat Begrowitz, president of Onyx Specialty Papers in South Lee, and Onyx is a 200-year-old manufacturer that produces engineered papers used for technical applications ranging from consumer products to medical devices. Thank you very much, Pat. A man I've interviewed many times on WBZ, John Hawthorne, the founder and CEO of Mass Challenge, one of the most successful startup accelerators not in the country, but on Earth. Mass Challenge is designed to catalyze a global renaissance by connecting high-impact startups and with resources they need to launch and succeed, and we'll talk about that success. Eric Roman, General Manager, Research and Applied Markets, GE Healthcare Life Sciences. GE announced, as you heard in August, that it will locate the world headquarters of its Life Sciences unit to Marlborough and employ some 500 people here. Welcome to the panel. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think I'm still on a mic. But thank you very much. It's great to see you. And I wanted to start with Eric, who is here, and he has some real time in London, so he knows what an Olympics will do to a city, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's talk about your company. Tell us about some of the decisions that were made to locate the operations here in Massachusetts, as opposed to, I'm sure, other states that were competing for that honor.
Yeah, so so first of all, the life sciences business is a division of the GE Healthcare organization. We're roughly a $4 billion business. We've got locations around the world. And in the United States, we've got a number of locations in Massachusetts already, as well as in New Jersey and out in Seattle and out in the Midwest and on the West Coast as well. So we're quite spread out across the country. But as we're looking at the operations, we're always trying to get some levels of efficiency and collaboration internally as well as externally. When we look at our business and our customer base, we say, where are they? And our customer base is, again, relatively geographically spread in the U.S., but there's a heavy concentration in the Northeast. And the biotechnology space is the area that we focus in on the life sciences business, and then on the West Coast. And then you start to say, okay, we want to bring our organization together, and we already had at least a start here in Massachusetts in a number of different locations. And then when we got together as a leadership team and we looked to where we want to go as an organization and as a business, in bringing together what is internally a diversified set of portfolio, we wanted to pick a place that was close to our customers, but then a place, as commented on earlier, that had education, had a strong workforce, gave us the opportunity to grow both in the short term, but in the long term. GE's not looking for short-term play here. We're making a long-term commitment, and we thought seriously around where we wanted to go and where we thought there was going to be a sustainable business model for us. And to be honest with you, Massachusetts and in the Boston area was, it was a short discussion. All right, the team, there was a lot of rallying around the team. We did our homework and we had some additional work done, but from a leadership perspective, it made a lot of sense for us. We've got a large presence in Europe as well, And being on the East Coast is advantageous relative to the West Coast, which would have been the alternative from our perspective. So we already had a nucleus here, great education system, customer base, which is substantial. And so it became quite a straightforward decision for us. And look, I sit on the ALDA board, which is Analytical Life Sciences and Diagnostic Association, as the vice chairman. And we hold two executive meetings a year, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. The ones on the East Coast are incredibly well attended. It's always held in Boston, and we always have the advantage of the meetings a day and a half. And let me tell you, the second afternoon, everyone's out visiting customers, right? Because there's such a hub here in biotechnology. So that's a long answer, maybe, to your
No, it's not
question.
so long at all. And you have some local roots here, too.
Well, I'm on my second tour of duty to Massachusetts. Today is actually my first full day as a resident in Massachusetts, moving back
Welcome.
from London. And I was here for grad school in the past. So it's